Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Daryl and fuck.
Ha!
Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Daryl and that's Dion.
Hello.
And welcome to our first impressions, our second first impressions on the channel. The first one was the Ghost of Tsushima first impressions. If you haven't seen that, feel free to go look at it and then watch our Where We Stand afterwards. But today we're talking about Resident Evil Village / Resident Evil 8. I don't know why they don't just call it 8 since they highlighted it that way anyway, but whatever, we're talking about that today. But look out for our Where We Stand on Where We Stand. Look out for our Where We Stand on Resident Evil 7 coming up soon. But for now, let's talk about Resident Evil Village. So to get things going, let's just start with the things that we really enjoy so far. There will be spoilers for like light spoilers for the up to the castle section. We left off after the castle, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we left off after the castle. So that's as much as we're going to go into. We're just going to talk about the things we liked and the things that we wish could be better, but we don't know if it'll be better yet. We don't know. We're still playing. So without further ado, let's get going, starting with what we're enjoying so far with Resident Evil Village.
So I think I like the intro. Let's start there. I mean, I love you kind of get in the house and you kind of experience that, and it's a realistic house. Beautiful.
Ethan has a great house. I want to kill him for it.
I know, it's unfair. It is absolutely unfair. I love the house, but it's realistic. It feels lived in, and I think that's a strong point. It's not like it doesn't drop you into the fear. It drops you into that situation.
Yeah.
You're like walking the baby and that kind of stuff. I really like the intro.
Mia looking good too. Sorry.
Mia did look great. You know, in fact, all the characters look pretty good just because of the engine is amazing.
The RE engine is sick.
It is, and I just really enjoyed that intro, and then how it just kind of drops all of a sudden, and all hell breaks loose at that point, with guns, bullets blazing everywhere into your house, and really sets up the game for your daughter being stolen, which is like, I think it's a really good setup. I actually like this setup a little bit more than I liked Resident Evil 7, so very awesome.
I'd say that Resident Evil 7's setup originally just kind of got you into the idea of not who Ethan is really, which is the funny part, because that game was kind of like he's just a vehicle. It felt like he was just a vehicle for, here's Resident Evil 7. Forget 6 ever happened. Here we go. Let's do this. You'll get to know him as we go. This game's like, okay, now let's start building up Ethan's character a bit more by having him very conversational as he can be with Mia. At least they're kind of bickering a lot lately for good reason, but still bickering. That's happening a lot. You get to look at and examine various things in the house up until the point where Mia gets hit with a bullet. I'd argue she kind of shrugs it off. Maybe it was shock, maybe it was whatever, but assuming she's still kind of off to some extent, which is implied.
She's definitely infected. Definitely.
Yeah. then one bullet obviously is not going to cut it. That's why they laid like 20 into her, because that's not going to happen. Speaking of I'm referring to Chris and his crew, which is what I'm very interested in, because I'm like, okay, Chris wouldn't be doing this for good reason. He wouldn't be. And even if he is doing it for good reason, it's going to be rough on Ethan, because Ethan doesn't know Chris like we know Chris. Well, like I know Chris. Resident Evil fans know Chris. We'll see what happens. But that's what caught my interest in the beginning. Also, that baby was really adorable. Rose is cute, and I don't want her to get hurt or die. I'm going to just leave it at that for the open.
All right. And then we kind of move into this. We kind of get dropped into the village section after we kind of get stolen. Our van gets blown up, of course. What could you expect? And that village section also very, beautiful in the wintry sense. Like it's a wintry area. You're going through snow and, lichens. Obviously, game trailers have spoiled that for everyone. It's lichens everywhere. So you see a few, and they kind of slowly edge you in. And this is very similar to Resident Evil 7, how it's like just a slow intro to what's about to happen. You see like dead bats, and one bat goes crazy. So you start seeing things like, okay, here we go. This is about to be Resident Evil, right? And I still thought that was good. That part in 7 was fine. And then you kind of get, into the village where I did not like this. And that's the beginning part where you start getting attacked by a whole bunch of monsters. I'm skipping a little bit, but that part I just didn't really enjoy too much. You're just kind of running around and surviving until you get away. I mean, there's some cool mechanics there, which are new, right? Blocking in a place and holding out, I think, is a cool mechanic. There is some good areas in the village. The village is very detailed. And then, I mean, then everything else is pretty normal. You get a lot more bullets.
Yeah.
Can I say? And you get guns really early, which I'm a fan of personally.
Resident Evil Village really borrows a lot from, if any of you have played Resident Evil 4, it borrows a lot of elements from that, with the exception of a few things, because it's kind of like a baby between Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7 in various ways. But as for the opening village section, it kind of reminded, if now that I think about 4, it kind of reminds me of that part where you kind of wander in the village and you don't know what's going to happen, then suddenly all the villagers start attacking you. You just know something's off, so you're kind of just fighting them off. Because actually, yeah, that happens in Resident Evil 4 as well. You're fighting them off up until the bell tolls. Once the bell tolls, then everyone dips, and that's when Leon says his famous line, "Where'd everybody go? Bingo?" You know, that's when he says that. And then you get the Resident Evil 4 tag screen. I was kind of hoping that Ethan would do it, but that's not his personality. It doesn't surprise me. But either way around, I do like the fact that in this case they made it so that actually no, it's still very much like how Resident Evil 4 was, where you're running around like a chicken without a head, essentially, and you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. You just see mechanics, you get quick tool tips and whatnot that say, hey, shoot this or hit this so that it blinds them, so it does this, so it does that, use barricades. It's like they don't spend a lot of time telling you how to do things. You just you either see it or you don't, and you just do it. And that's all you can do. You hold out for as long as you can. The panic that Ethan is feeling is the panic you should be feeling. And they really nailed that, in my opinion, for the beginning portion.
That's true. I was panicking the whole time. Still not a fan. I think they could do something more interesting than a holdout, but I guess it was cool seeing the different monsters come. Yeah. Which monster design is great, by the way.
Yeah, screw that guy with the big hammer.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That was pretty good. I actually think that's an improvement for sure. And just with the interest of time, I think we should talk about, you kind of meet the villagers for a brief time. That's very interesting. I think each villager has their own personality, which is very interesting for a very, very short-lived cast of characters. You know, I mean, they don't live long, but they make an impact. They make an impact, and they feel very real, which I thought was good. They're not one-dimensional. Which it was awesome. And you kind of travel with one girl, and she's like, I love my father who's infected. And, you know, that's typical. And you kind of find your way out. It's a very exciting first run, right? Like, that whole piece is very exciting. Keeps you really, really engaged until you meet basically the Mad Witch, and you find out that your daughter may be in the castle.
And from there, you go into the castle and you meet YouTube and the internet's favorite waifu. I can never say her name, Lady Dimitrescu, something like that. I can't. I might have nailed it. Spoiler alert, I didn't, but it's pronounced Lady Dimitrescu or Dimitrescu, however you want to say it. There are apparently a lot of ways you can say it, but do not say Lady Dimitrescu or whatever I was saying. Ignore past me. I want to punch past me. Anyway, back to the video. Might not have, who knows. Either way around, she's big, tall lady, and the internet loves her, but she is very terrifying. Like, at first I thought, giant? Are you sure? You know, is that really a scary thing? When she's stalking you at some point in the castle after a little bit, because of course Resident Evil went back to that formula from back in the day. 4 didn't have a stalker, but 7 did, so obviously they're going to continue that trend because it works. They do it really well. It's she's terrifying. Let's just leave it at that. And Ethan goes through so much torture. I'm like, if you thought the gore in the first game, in 7 was a lot, he does a lot, mostly to himself, to get out of things, because he knows I can heal if I use the first aid that has, if I remember correctly, traces of Evelyn's DNA or the infection in it. That's why he can heal himself with it, because he's infected. The bottle of medicines also has traces of that infection, so he can heal himself with it. Either way around, it's you just sit there like, Ethan, really? You never thought you feel so sorry for a pair of hands? I can't help it. If you don't know what Ethan looks like, you've seen him before. But if you don't, Google him. He looks pretty basic in 7, but I'd like to see what he looks like fully in 8. Because frankly, every Resident Evil character starts off looking a little basic, and then eventually they look like Chris after he went to a bodybuilding competition or something. I don't know.
Let's talk the castle a little bit more. So I think the castle experience it's almost like the mansion. Obviously you're getting more ammo. I think that is a key point I want to bring in, the ammo and gunplay. You're either going to like that better or not. If you rather have that horror experience, you're not getting it in the first hour as much as you were in 7. It's more going to that Resident Evil 4 action horror is like what I like to call it. That's what I am.
That's fair.
Calling it action horror. Which is something that is more acceptable to me personally. So I like that change. I like the pace. I think the beginning of the game in the castle is really interesting, right? The castle is very beautiful, very well designed, very believable.
Yep.
And as you travel, you learn more about Lady D. That's what we're going to call her for now. Lady D. You learn more about her and her daughters as you're, fighting them and killing them. You're learning more about her and what she stands for. And I think the traveling experience there is really good. A lot of fun. And I really like the castle. Like, I really like you have a save room and you try to find different areas. It's very similar to 7 on that aspect. And I think it's strong, personally.
Yeah. Another aspect that Dion didn't mention quite yet is that you have a merchant in the game. But much like in Resident Evil 4, in fact, he even says one of his lines, because the two apparently know each other. I was hyped for it. Dion didn't know, so I didn't expect him to go, ooh. I go, ooh, but that's
I don't think it's exciting, even if they do know each other, but fine.
I just like connections like that, man. I'm a Marvel fan. If Captain America even mentions some off the cuff, Marvel character or whatever, I'm gonna get excited because that means a lot of different things to me. So that's how I'm just giving that as an example. But even then, I just like seeing references. But that aside, you have a merchant in the game named the Duke. He's a big boy.
Oh yes, he is.
He's a real big boy. But he's also pretty funny. He knows more than he lets on. Unlike the merchant in Resident Evil 4, who has some things to do with the narrative, not directly, but like he is involved some way, shape, or form. He's not random. Let's put it that way. He's not quite random, but you don't quite know a lot about him. The Duke, he lets on more. He suggests that he knows more than he actually does, and I don't know whether or not he's bullshitting or he's not. All I know is that I'm there to buy weapons and stuff from him so I can upgrade my guns and stuff. And whatever he has to tell me, like the recent bombshell he just dropped, which I won't spoil here because that is like on the edge of where we left off, so I'm not going to talk about that here. You'll have to watch the Where We Stand when we post it for this. But he's everyone's keeping secrets from Ethan, and Ethan is getting increasingly frustrated. I wouldn't be surprised at this point if Capcom was like, well, we haven't had a villain since Wesker, and Wesker died in Resident Evil 5. So let's slowly make Ethan hate Chris, then flip the script, and now you're back to Chris and him, but you have to fight Ethan.
Oh,
that would be
not.
That would be.
Leave your conspiracy theories alone.
No, never. But
I do want to talk briefly about the inventory, because you mentioned a good point. The merchant, which is new, right, from 7, I should say. It's new in 8 from 7, and I thought the merchant was good. I like that they have this extra tidbit, because the guns in 7, you didn't have this, ability to upgrade them, and I think it adds a whole other layer that helps you progress,
right?
Which I think is strong for the game. And then obviously the inventory system that goes along with that, which is a huge improvement, which I think it matches 4. I don't know why we keep going.
It does.
It's just weird that they keep jumping like this. They can't keep consistent, but I think the inventory system is much better, and how you're fitting your weapons. At first, I was slightly annoyed when things didn't fit, but with your inventory expansions, and you can buy that and you can manage that, I'm finding that is not really too much of an issue to learn to manage it. And the inventory expansions are like 10 spaces is huge.
Oh yeah.
So I really like that they added the merchant. I really like that they added the inventory management system back. I think that it just makes the game a lot stronger for me, and then also a lot more fun.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I don't have anything else to say about the game off the top of my head. I'm just ready to keep going if you are.
Oh yeah, me too. Well, guys, thank you for your time. We love for you to leave your first impressions in the comments and have discussions there. Until next time, this is Dion.
And I'm Daryl.
And we'll talk to you later. See ya.
Don't follow the big booty.